We have breaking news, another big payday for another NFL quarterback, and this time it's the Packers quarterback Jordan Love. Our senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones reports that Love is getting a 4-year, $220 million deal with Green Bay. That deal reportedly includes a record $75 million signing bonus and $155 million in guarantees. Now, Love led the Packers to a 9-8 record this past season and a playoff win over the Dallas Cowboys in his first year as a starter. He gets his big contract on the same day that Tua Tagovailoa cashed in with a 4-year, $212 million deal with the Dolphins. For more, we welcome in CBS lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones. And JJ, this deal coming off of essentially 10 games for Jordan Love. How much does this validate what the Packers see in the young quarterback?
It's incredible that he is able to get this sort of money after having appeared in just 27 games, right? And you noted, I mean, it's really how he ended last season, and especially how the Packers were able to trounce the Dallas Cowboys in that playoff game and obviously stay competitive in the divisional round. Great for Jordan Love, great for his representation, and that is what leverage does for any player, but certainly a quarterback in today's NFL. Let's go back. He was on his rookie contract after he got drafted in 2020. Of course, didn't play in that season, only appeared in one game in 2021. But then the Packers and Jordan Love and his representation, they agreed to a sort of short-term contract extension last year. And that was sort of a, hey, thanks for all you've done, and now you're going to be the starter. It was sort of an in-between. But now they had to pay him after what he was able to do last season. And so breaking the bank here, averaging $55 million in average annual salary, something that we have seen Joe Burrow, we have seen Trevor Lawrence reach those marks, but he is on a 4-year contract, Madeline. And so, he's in his mid-20s. That means that if he continues to ball out the way that we just saw last year, he's going to be able to cash in before he hits the ripe old age of 30.
Now, a lot of people, we talked about this earlier, Tua Tagovailoa got a contract extension earlier today. Some NFL fans might be clutching their pearls saying, how is Jordan Love making more money than Tua Tagovailoa? But Jordan Love has done something that Tua hasn't, which is win a playoff game. How much value is assigned to postseason wins when it comes to these contract negotiations?
Yeah, no doubt about that, that playing in the postseason and delivering in the postseason is what is going to help everyone, first of all, with their legacy, and then second of all, of course, with their money. When you look at what Tua and the Dolphins have been able to do, he's been able to get them to 2 playoffs. He wasn't really able to participate in one because of an injury, and then last year, of course, losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in the bitter cold there at Arrowhead. Meanwhile, Jordan Love, you look at his trajectory, the arrow is pointed up, same as Tua, but getting that playoff victory against the Dallas Cowboys, no less, than being competitive again a week later, that matters. That means something, as well as the fact that, the Packers, they didn't have a ton of leverage in this. They certainly didn't have nearly as much as the Miami Dolphins did in their negotiations with Tua. Like, they invested a first-round draft pick in Jordan Love when they didn't really have to. Remember, when they drafted Jordan Love, of course, they probably could have used that pick on a wide receiver during their Lombardi championship window. They didn't. Jordan Love understands that. The Packers, a team that over the past 3+ decades have known Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love, they weren't going to jump into the free agent quarterback pool. They weren't going to try to go trade for someone. There's a whole lot of articles out there about what the Miami Dolphins would do if it weren't Tua. It seemed like they may be hedging their bets just a little bit on Tua. That wasn't the case with the Green Bay Packers. And so because of that, I think that's why we see Jordan Love, again, a unique amount of leverage in this, getting more than Tua.
Right, a unique amount of leverage. You pointed to it, especially coming off of a season that seemed like a tale of 2 seasons, right? The first half of the season and the second half of the season, it was almost like 2 different quarterbacks. What did you see in Jordan Love that created that shift in his game that made the Packers believe that, yes, this is who he is as a quarterback and will continue to be in the future?
Well, I think it all comes down to, getting them into the playoffs, being with that young wide receiving group, right, where you had Romeo Doubs, where you had Christian Watson out there, and that he was able to lift up that team. He was able to make them better. He had 3 game-winning drives last season, 2 fourth-quarter comebacks. And so when you elevate the play of your teammates around you. That's what quarterbacks are supposed to do, of course, but that's really kind of what veteran quarterbacks do a lot. And then sometimes they don't have to do it with such young talent around them. And when we do see quarterbacks surrounded by such young players, some, unheralded guys, some guys who are trying to make their name in the NFL, typically when you are winning with those kinds of guys, you have veteran quarterbacks who have already gotten their paycheck. The fact is that Jordan Love hanging in the pocket there, as we see throughout the second half of the season and certainly into January, was able to elevate that offense. And so the Packers, of course, had always hoped that they had their quarterback for the foreseeable future, maybe the next 20 years. They didn't know that until last season got underway. They hoped that they got it right. They didn't know that. And now today, of course, ever since that Dallas Cowboys victory in the playoffs, where they were leading, I think, 41-16 at one point in the fourth quarter, ever since then, they have known that Jordan Love was going to be the guy. And we knew that he was going to get a contract extension, that an average annual salary was going to begin with the number 5. And now today we know it's a $55 million per year salary.
When you look at teams preparing for a draft, quarterback is such a hard position to hit on, right? But you look at this 2020 quarterback class, over $1 billion in contracts to these guys. I mean, Joe Burrow, 5 years, 275. Tua, 4 years, 212 extension. Justin Herbert, 262. Jalen Hurts, 255. And then now Jordan Love, the highest paid quarterback in the game. What was so special about this 2020 quarterback class, JJ?
There were a lot of talented guys. There's no question about it. Joe Burrow was a fantastic prospect coming out. You listed off a number of dudes there. But, Madeline, what's one of the really interesting things is all these guys seemingly went to the right spot, right? I mean, obviously we know Joe Burrow was going to go to Cincinnati, right? But when you continue down the list, that Jalen Hurts goes to Philadelphia, and they don't use him as this gimmicky backup, right? They let him compete, and then ultimately he went over the locker room and then won the job with the Philadelphia Eagles. Whereas I don't know that every other team, if they would have drafted him with a guy that they had already paid, like Carson Wentz, that they would have allowed him to be a legitimate quarterback. So you had that happen. Tua, of course, overcoming those injuries and those scary concussions to play the season of his career so far this past year. You have, and you can continue going down at Justin Herbert, doesn't have the playoff success necessarily, but he has been incredible for the Chargers. And now you have Jordan Love, a guy that, again, the Packers are banking on. He did not have a ton of film out there from Utah State, but that he has been able to go somewhere where he could sit, where he could learn, where it wasn't, hey, we need you right now to be quarterback one first week of training camp. All of those things worked not only to the players' benefit, of course, but certainly to the teams that drafted them benefit. And I'll just say this, in 2020, when we were faced with COVID and you couldn't go to pro days and we didn't have pro days and all this stuff, somehow, amazingly, all these teams didn't need to spend all those resources to get it right at the most important position in all of sports. Maybe we can call our resources just a little bit and trust our gut a little bit more.
Hey, maybe don't overthink it, right? But, you look at these quarterbacks, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL is also another way of saying the most recently paid quarterback in the NFL. And you look at the graphic of the talent you've got on there. Patrick Mahomes, he had a 10-year deal in 2020. Maybe he's going to be calling his agent saying we should rework that. But another guy, Dak Prescott, who's going to be coming up pretty soon. What does this deal mean for Dak?
So I know that that's a big question that's out there. Okay, Tua just got done and Jordan Love gets done. What does this mean for Dak? And I'm seeing that around a couple places. Oh, the price is only going up for Dak. Well, I mean, not really, and only because the price is still at $55 million, and Dak was always going to go above that. I believe that it's either going to be Dak or Brock Purdy, who legitimately could be a $60 million per year quarterback. And if it's going to be Dak, it probably is going to be in March versus sometime in the next few weeks. But we heard from Jerry Jones at his State of the Union with the Dallas Cowboys just yesterday, where, he's not blinking. He's not flinching. He wants Dak Prescott to be his quarterback for the foreseeable future, but he's not just going to throw the bag at Dak Prescott just whatever he wants. And so Dak also said, look, I'm going to let my agent do the talking, but yeah, I still want to be with the Dallas Cowboys. And so you have one want to on both sides. I would have to imagine that want to will carry over into a contract. But is that going to happen before the start of the season, or is it going to happen once we get to February and March when Dak would have an incredible amount of leverage? That is to be determined. But certainly Dak will be the highest paid player in NFL history. And then if it happens before Brock Purdy, Madeline, that is a very astute observation, then Brock Purdy will then become the highest paid player in NFL history, so long as he continues on his trajectory with the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah, Dak's going to get paid soon enough, and it will go above Tua, and it will go above Jordan Love. Just a matter of when it's going to happen, and, yeah, all eyes on that one.
Well, and for now, is Jordan Love the highest paid and most recently paid quarterback in NFL history? CBS NFL insider Jonathan Jones, thanks so much for the insight. As we take a look at the numbers, Jordan Love, $55 million average annual value on his new contract, a 4-year, $220 million contract, making him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Average annual value like Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, slightly more than Tua Tagovailoa, and Jared Goff.